Top 15 Quirky Facts About Ancient Rome. Why did statues have detachable heads, and slaves wear passports around their necks? How did Romans avoid offending a god by forgetting their gender? In this video, we uncover 15 surprising facts that reveal ancient Rome from a whole new angle. 67 gods. It's hard to imagine today, but ancient Rome had at least 67 gods, each overseeing wildly different domains. Jupiter controlled thunder, Janus guarded doorways, and the goddess Cloacina watched over, yes, you heard that right, the sewers. A goddess of sanitation? Absolutely, she existed. With such a crowded pantheon, it was easy to get confused. But Romans were practical people. They prayed to Mercury before business deals and to Neptune before sea voyages. Some zealous believers went further. One Roman swore to Jupiter that if he won a lawsuit, he'd sacrifice himself. He won the case but decided a goat would satisfy the god just fine. Don't miss the secrets we're uncovering. Subscribe and hit the like button to join our journey into ancient mysteries. There was also the tricky issue of divine gender identity. With so many gods and spirits, it was easy to slip up and misgender a deity, calling a goddess a god, or vice versa. To avoid offense, Romans often prayed to gods and goddesses collectively, sidestepping specifics. Just to be safe, they'd offer sacrifices before major tasks, like planting crops, to appease whoever was in charge of the harvest. Practical as ever, Romans figured it was better to overdo the offerings than risk losing divine favor. Self-castration. Among Cybele's followers, devotees of the goddess Cybele took religious devotion to extreme levels. One of their rituals involved voluntarily sacrificing their manhood, believing it brought them closer to the divine. Cybele, goddess of fertility, earth, and motherhood, came to Rome from Asia. In 204 BCE, the Senate officially recognized her, and her festival, the Megalesia, became part of the Roman calendar. However, self-castration raised eyebrows among Romans. Citizens were barred from the practice, which was reserved for priests. Cold baths, plunging into icy water isn't a modern wellness trend. Ancient Romans were doing it long before biohacking was a buzzword. Visiting the baths wasn't just about relaxation, it was a full-blown ritual. After a workout in the palestra, a kind of gym, Romans moved to the caldarium, a steamy hot bath, then the tepidarium, a warm soak, and finished with a bracing dip in the frigidarium's cold pool, all while chatting with friends about the latest gossip. Boys dreamed of becoming chariot racers, if today's kids dream of racing in Formula One. Ancient Roman boys fantasized about chariot racing. For those born into slavery, a victory could mean not just wealth but freedom. Races took place in massive arenas like the Circus Maximus, with fans cheering wildly for teams, mostly the blues, greens, reds, and whites. Some racers even bet on themselves to boost the prize money. Sure, the races were deadly, but that never stopped anyone. Roman slaves wore tags in ancient Rome. If a slave ran away or misbehaved, they might be decorated with a special tag called a titulus. It listed their name, offense, and, just in case, the owner's contact info, so anyone who found them knew where to return the runaway. It was both a punishment and a deterrent. With that tag around their neck, hiding was impossible, and owners could rest easy. Terracotta hills. Imagine for a moment that the hills in this photo are made of plastic bottles, coffee cups, and bags stuffed with more bags. Sounds crazy, but it's true. Well, sort of. Instead of plastic, ancient Romans used terracotta jugs for olive oil, wine, and other liquids. Without recycling, they dumped the broken pottery in one place, creating terracotta hills around Rome. The most famous? Monte Testaccio. Bakers were a big deal in ancient Rome. Bread wasn't just food, it was a vital resource that kept society stable. Not everyone had an oven at home, so baking was a specialized job. Bakers weren't just craftsmen, they were respected and influential. Owners of large bakeries even meddled in politics. After all, if you feed the people, you've got serious clout in any debate. The first brands were born in Rome. Marketing and branding aren't 21st century inventions. Romans were labeling everything from bread to pottery 2,000 years ago. One standout was a businessman named Aulus Umbricius Scaurus, who dominated the fish sauce market. His name was stamped on a third of the amphorae in Pompeii. Think of him as Rome's answer to Coca-Cola. Gladiator fights were like movies and theater. Think gladiator battles were just about survival? Think again. Rome had over 20 types of gladiators, and their armor was chosen not just for protection but for spectacle. Some fought in heavy helmets and armor, others nearly bare for maximum drama. These weren't just fights, they were carefully staged shows where flair mattered as much as skill. No professional medicine. Got sick in ancient Rome. Good luck. Doctors as we know them didn't exist, and medical care was a gamble. If you were lucky, you'd get someone with real experience. If not, you'd be at the mercy of a wannabe medic with zero training. Surgery, no anesthesia, and barely any knowledge of anatomy. Swappable statue heads. Emperors came and went, but marble statues lasted centuries. To save time and money, Roman sculptors used detachable heads. When a new ruler took over, they'd pop off the old head and attach a new one. If an emperor fell out of favor, a quick hammer strike made way for the next guy. That's why museums are full of headless statues. The spare parts got lost over time. The first joke book. Romans didn't just love philosophy, they loved a good laugh. Proof? The Philoggelos, Laughter Lover, the oldest joke book, compiled in the 3rd or 4th century. It's got 265 jokes about lazy folks, losers, grumps, and family squabbles. Some are still funny today, proving humor hasn't changed much. Here's one. A teacher asks a student, "What's 2 times 2? 5. Wrong. Okay. 3? No, 2 times 2 is 4. Well, why didn't you just say so instead of haggling? Rome's markets. The ancient supermarket. Rome's markets were like modern malls. Bustling stalls, shouting vendors, fruit tastings, and exotic spices. Wheat came from Egypt, 200,000 tons a year, or Rome would have starved. Olive oil and pork arrived from Spain, fish from far-off Britain. Precious gems came from India, and Chinese silk could cost more than a house in central Rome. Garum, the popular fish sauce, smelled so bad that its stalls had partitions to contain the stench. A city of 1 million couldn't survive on local resources alone, so Rome's markets brought in goods from every corner of the empire. Life expectancy was 25, or was it? The average life expectancy in ancient Rome was 25 years. Were Romans old at 25? Not quite. That number is skewed by high infant mortality. Many babies died young due to disease, poor sanitation, and no modern medicine. But if a Roman made it to 10 or 15, they had a good shot at reaching 50 or even 60. Emperor Augustus lived to 75, and philosopher Seneca hit 68. So 25 years is more of a statistical trap than the actual lifespan of an adult Roman. Thanks for exploring these ancient mysteries with us. Subscribe now and like this video to dive deeper into lost civilizations' secrets.